Welcome to Untamed Blossoms, the podcast where we celebrate the untamed journey of womanhood. Here, we tell the stories of incredible women who have embraced their authenticity, inspiring others to do the same.
From entrepreneurs to artists, activists to adventurers, we share triumphs, challenges, and the beauty of self-discovery. These are the stories of women blazing their own trails, breaking free, and blooming unapologetically.
Join us to connect, be inspired, and celebrate the power of women's stories. Together, let's rewrite the rules and embrace our wildness.
Welcome to Untamed Blossoms. I'm your host, Amanda Riley.
And I'm Christy Riley. Welcome to the show.
I only have to wear my heart monitor for 2 more days.
Yay. I don't think we told anybody you were wearing a heart monitor.
I'm wearing a heart monitor. I'm fine. Everything's fine. Everything's cool. I got a lot of tests. I'm not going to die today. We're all dying.
Stop.
But yeah, I've been wearing this itchy,
for
glued
2
on
weeks.
thing.
And they literally are. It is absolutely like glue. It is like cemented glue.
It started to move a little from the bottom piece, and I have it's like wrinkly, old skin under there now.
Yeah.
And I'm a little nervous about what that's going to look like.
It's going to be red and itchy and yucky.
But I get to take it off Thursday morning.
Oh, yeah.
And today is Monday.
Good.
So
yeah.
I'm just looking at it as basically today's over. And I have Tuesday and Wednesday left.
Right.
And that's how many.
And you can sleep. You sleep and then you take it off Thursday morning.
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
I think I'm supposed to wait till the exact time they put it on or whatever. So I might go to the gym first. This way I can take it off and then shower and scrub the heck out of it. So
yeah.
I'm excited for that. What do you have going on this week?
I met the new grandbaby over the weekend.
That's so exciting.
Little baby Arthur. He's stunning and smiley. He's like recognizing smiling at 2.5 months. It's really early for that, but it was really great. Yeah. So
I love that.
Yeah. He was early, so they were protecting him to kind of keep him away from people for a while until cold and flu season was over, which cold and flu season was brutal this year. So
totally.
I don't blame them. But no, it was really great. We had a great time. They're still finishing up his nursery because he came early. They weren't prepared. So we did some work in the nursery and snuggled and played and cooed and all the things. And he tried to pee on me, and you know what normal baby boys do.
Classic.
Yeah.
I've never had a baby boy, but I've had a baby boy cat. And I feel like a boy animal, very similar. It's just really rowdy.
As soon as the diaper comes off, it's like a free-for-all. It's like a water hose. You never know. You gotta be fast.
Yeah.
Gotta be quick.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time visiting.
We did. And we started our initial, don't get excited, everybody, but it's an above ground pool. But we did go visit the pool place yesterday just to get an idea about what that might look like.
Did you wait to tell me this on air so that you could see my reaction of joy?
Yeah, I did. I didn't tell you this morning at the gym on purpose.
Suddenly, instead of pink overall, we're going to have a pink cover up because...
Yeah, we're going to go straight to the pool right after.
Yeah. In between guests, pool time.
Yes.
Some sun.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yes. And I will also tell you that your brother got into a massage chair that is from another planet. We both sat in them. And the place was trying to close, and here we are. They're like, get out. And I'm like, we need this. We need this. And he really did, actually. He actually slept last night after being in that chair for 30 minutes. So, we didn't pull the trigger on that right away. We wanted to do a little more research because it's the first time we'd ever really sat in one.
Yeah.
But, wow. I mean, what it does to your feet, it grabs you, it does a body scan so it knows how big you are and all these things. And you're like, whoa, it was really cool.
I mean, I really feel like for the two of your health, you really could use this. I think it would benefit you both.
Yes. And all of those things. Yes.
You know.
And then suddenly I'm like, we're going to be a wellness center and we need this for Untamed Blossoms. Okay, sweet.
It's a write-off.
That's what I said. I'm like, can this be a business model? I know we're a podcast, but can this, count?
Guests need to be calm.
I know. Same thing with the sauna. I can go on and on. So they had all the things there. Hot tubs, saunas, pools. It was like
heaven.
all the things I love. Yeah.
Wow, I'm jealous.
I know. We just walked around. It was cool. It was, as you know, today we woke up to snow, y'all, in April in Ohio, which does happen every year. But when it does happen, it is the most depressing moment of our lives. Amanda
it's so
and I.
shocking every time too. Like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like shocked.
We're shook.
I'm like, how dare?
We're totally shook because we've had 80-degree days so far already in spring. And you're like, oh, and the flowers, all the spring flowers are blooming and the bushes are blooming and everything's great. And you're like, yes, we've made it to spring. For those of us who really hate the winter, this is a big deal. And then there's that one moment in April in Ohio where it gets cold again. And you're like, oh,
why?
What is happening? So,
I did want to go back for a second.
Yes.
You were talking about baby Arthur smiling, right?
Yes.
Have you seen the thing about conscious babies?
No.
Okay. So there's this whole thing on TikTok where some babies, like, why are they so conscious? Like, it's like a weird. There was like the
Star
Four Springs.
seeds.
Yes. And it was like the Four Springs baby who the mom was like, who wants to go to Four Springs? And he was like, me. And he put up his little finger, but he was like a baby. And it was like, what the hell? And then so people started calling him the conscious baby. Well, then all these other people started posting videos of their like conscious baby. And I am just like, one, starseed alien baby, who can say? Or two, like, what if they are just really used to being reincarnated? And like, this is like their manyth trip here.
Right.
And they are just like already conscious, like ready to go. What do you think?
I love this. I love this energy. I hope so.
What do you think though? Which one do you think? Or do you think it could be anything?
I think that listen, there's a bunch of kids, parents are putting their kids on TikTok that have some level of consciousness that shakes me to the core when you start talking to a 6-year-old boy who's speaking as if he's a 50-year-old man.
Yeah.
Answering questions about the universe and energy, and the way he's talking about quantum energy is, I mean, it is really, really impressive and weird and scary at the same time. You know, you're like, wow, this is really cool. And the fact that they're all sort of showing up right now, I think is significant.
Yeah.
And all of the shaking up that's happening in our world.
Yeah.
Like it's all happening at the same time. And I just can't help but believe that we are, we chose to reincarnate during a really cool time.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that means that the shift in consciousness is really, truly happening.
Yeah.
In a way that like we are truly leveling up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just some interesting things happening.
I love it.
I also posted that NASA finally caught a star being born.
Really?
Yeah. Images of it. So
that's cool. I'm
it's
gonna have
just
to
like,
look it up.
it's a really cool time. I feel like, well, it's a heinous and also scary time, but also like weird, interesting things are happening all at once too. So it's a time.
Listen,
it's a time.
I follow this other person that's mostly astrologically based, but they were talking about how strong we are to choose to be born during this time.
Yeah.
And being incarnated during this time. And I think that's a really powerful statement. Like what we're choosing to go through as a collective, and that choosing to come during this time means that we're really like,
what I saw about all the protests this last week was so powerful. Like multi-generations of women coming together, like mom and her mom and grandma, like all coming together to protest for these things. And it was pretty powerful to see the collective use their voice. And like the I'm going to say this quote wrong. The quote, the power of the people is always stronger than the people in power.
Yeah.
And I just thought like there was a lot of collective unity over this last week of people using their voices. And I think that is strong and powerful in and of itself, that we are in a time where so many are choosing to do something that we haven't needed to have done for so many years. Whether we should have or not, that's a different story. But, you know, like this whole like feeling of a renaissance coming and change is pretty powerful.
Right. So. Change brings change, right?
Yep.
And the shake up, good, bad, and indifferent is going to bring change. And it's going to wake people up to the fact that we've just been sleeping, you know, like we've just been letting things kind of run itself in the background. I know I can only speak for myself, and I've been oblivious to a lot of stuff that's been happening, right? And so it just once these crazy things happen, you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
And then you really start paying attention to what's happening around you and getting involved, and that's when real change
Totally.
happens. And encouraging people to be a part of the change, be a part of the changing voice, and what comes out of the disruption is the most important part of all of this.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's a crazy time. It's going to keep being crazier.
I'm here for it.
Let's roll, you know.
Let's do it. You know what I mean? But on speaking of change and people that are being a part of their community, our guest today, Theresa Brown, runs a recovery cafe, which when I saw it online, I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
And it is based out of a church, and I want to let her talk about it a little bit more, but it basically gives people a place to come and meet people that can help them. So it's really a resource place to give them people to talk to, people who are interested in employing them, all different kinds of stuff. So I'll let her talk about it. But I thought, man, how powerful that somebody is putting together a complete nonprofit coffee shop, if you will, just for addicts to have a place to feel comfortable and to connect with other humans and get the help that they need, more than just the AAs and their recovery programs and all that, but really truly immersed in their community.
Yeah. That's amazing. I can't wait to talk to her and see, how we can be a part of her mission.
So. Yeah, and how it came about, and kind of where they're going and how they're growing, and how we can be of assistance, for sure.
Totally.
Theresa, welcome.
Hi.
Great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. I found you on social media.
You did?
I did. I was scrolling through. It must have been Instagram, and it might have been Facebook.
Probably Facebook.
Probably Facebook, not Instagram.
I think that's about as far as
I'm always looking for women that are doing inspirational things in the community, and that's how I found you. And I was like, what a cool concept is to have sort of a coffee shop for people in recovery. So if you can start by just telling us what it is that is the name of it, where it's located, and kind of what you do there.
Absolutely. It's Cup of Purpose Recovery Cafe. Our mission statement is we're an inclusive, safe space of love, connection, and community without judgment, serving all people in recovery, and we're all recovering from something to find our own path to a peaceful and purposeful best life.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is so amazing. I love it in this space. So I was thinking, I think I'll just go ahead and talk about where it comes from. It started 25 years ago, the Recovery Cafe in Seattle, Washington, and funded by Bill and Linda Gates.
Wow.
And in 2016, they decided to license the model so that more recovery cafes could be operating around the country. And we are the first one in Ohio, and hopefully we can grow, and then more people will use the model. It doesn't have to be me. Anybody can start their own recovery cafe.
Good to know.
Yes.
And the resources are out there to do so.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they have a recovery cafe network, and so they support people for 2 years in getting up and running. You can get some grant money from them to help you with those first 2 years. So that was really instrumental for us. There are a lot of nonprofits that have just taken the model and added it to what they have already.
Right.
We are like babies. We have nothing, no background. I found the core team that was interested in making it happen and work with me, and we know nothing.
Yeah.
Coming in. So we had a lot to learn. There's lots of trainings, and they hold our hand and everything. Otherwise we would, we wouldn't have been able to do it.
Yeah. Big heart, large learning curve.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's we're on the west side of Columbus on Powell Avenue in the Westgate United Methodist Church. We are not affiliated with the church. We are love-based, not faith-based.
Okay.
Because we want people to find their own spiritual path, and it's kind of multiple paths to recovery. So We have no agenda for, we think this is what you should do for your recovery. It's important for us to learn the individual, kind of know who they are and support them in their own gifts and what will work for them, as they're in their recovery journey.
Yeah.
And I think most people, when they're interested in recovery and they start that process, the things that are most readily available are faith-based.
Mhm.
And that definitely doesn't resonate with everybody. So I think it's beautiful that you say you're love-based, not faith-based, because I think it opens it up to be more comfortable for people who just don't really know where to start. So
Exactly.
Well, and the fact that I assumed when I visited that it was part of the church, so that that it was just an offset of the church and in a way that that they're practicing their own faith in service of the community. So that's good to know that you're really just in that space, but it's not necessarily part of the church program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finding a space to start. We did start at St. John's Episcopal Church in Franklinton. It just didn't have the space that we needed to be able to offer all the things that we want to offer. So it used to be the free store.
Yeah.
And when that closed, we jumped all over it because it's lots of room and it's an actual full kitchen and all that. It's
Yeah.
just hard to find space. Well, we're paying, we're renting, we're
Right.
paying for it pretty.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we're keeping the church open actually, but it's just finding a space that
Yeah.
we can be in, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
So the original cafe is a 10,000 square foot standalone space in the heart of downtown
Wow.
Seattle.
10,000 square feet. That is a huge amount of space.
Yes.
Wow.
And it's beautiful. And I'll kind of I'll get back to it again later, as I'm talking about how all this came together. But there's workshops, there's just open. And it's primarily been for people who are unhoused. And, 80-90% of those unhoused usually have some kind of addiction.
Right.
I think we're coming on a time where it's more like 50-50. I think people are unhoused and it has nothing to do with addiction. It's just they can't afford housing.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's really scary. But
Yeah.
so typically, our space is for anyone wherever they are in their recovery and whatever it is they're recovering from. So it's not just addiction. I know we use the word recovery and everybody thinks, addiction, but, it could be grief, loss of loved ones, loneliness, divorce, toxic relationships. It's just, and addiction is really a byproduct of some other issue, trauma. And so, I would say the majority of our current members are recovering or in recovery from addiction. But I guess getting back to the original cafe, it was seeing people as human beings and allowing them to come in, and we serve meals on dishes, not paper plates. And we talk to people and, and just hear their story. And we want to see them as people and not as, many people see people on the, on the streets, like
a label.
Yes.
So are these more like scheduled meetings and times people can come in, or is it just open and available? Can you talk to us a little bit about the process of that?
Right. So it is a membership-based program. So there's 3 requirements to be a member. One is to be drug and alcohol free in the space. Doesn't mean you're sober in life. It just means when you're there, we want you present and being in a safe condition, for yourself and others. And the second one is to attend 1 recovery circle a week. And those circles are like 8 to 10 people max in a circle. And as a member, you're committing to being in that circle with those same people every week. And you become deeply known and loved in that circle. And you're there to support each other each week. And in the circle, we talk about a struggle you've had for the week, a growth or a win, and a goal. And then if you're interested in feedback from others in the circle, you say, I'm open to feedback.
Right.
And it is, we have people go in and come out like their first circle a different person. And, it's just amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, maybe not having as much struggle as a lot of people do have, I'm just surprised that like them not having the opportunity to talk about things. Like I talk about everything all the time,
Right.
like
right.
I don't, it's just hard to imagine people holding on to things and like how much the difference you see in them when they're able to let go.
Yeah.
Just in one.
Just to unburden themselves verbally to say it out loud to somebody.
Yeah.
What's been
Yeah.
on their hearts. Yeah.
So the third requirement is to give back in the community in our cafe space. So whether it be cleaning up, doing dishes after dinner, or serving, or just supporting each other with resources, just being a part of the community and not just coming in and taking what you need and leaving.
Yeah.
So it's free. So that's all the requirements are. It's not too hard, and it's a loving accountability is what we call it.
Yeah.
And in exchange for that, we have free meals every time we're open. So if you come to your circle on Tuesday, you can come for dinner on Thursday. You don't have to go to a circle. You can just come and hang out and partake of anything else that's going on.
Yeah.
So we have resources. We have workshops and classes based on growth opportunities. So we base it on what we believe the community could use. Like, if people want us to bring in yoga classes, we will. So financial literacy or some type of growth around boundaries. We have somebody coming in Tuesday to talk about how to learn how to express gratitude. Sometimes, and it's very interesting, and not to go off on tangent there, but it can be difficult to recognize gratitude and to recognize sometimes we get stuck in the negative and we stuck in the struggle that we don't know how to see the gratefulness, the gratitude in things. And so like she's going to kind of just talk about ways that we can do that because we have opportunities at mealtime to also talk about what we're grateful for. And it's interesting to me how sometimes it's chirping.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying anything and, or they just, I'm 365 days clean, and that's the thing that everybody says, the majority of people say.
Right. The interesting thing with gratitude, I think, is, people talk about when you start that practice, to find one small thing in your day, whether it be like, I saw a beautiful flower walking
I woke
today. Yeah, like just start so small
today.
Because I think gratitude can feel like how long I've been sober, how long I've been clean, or like it can feel like what the main focus is versus seeing and identifying the small blessings and happiness in every single day. And I think too, when you're in a really dark time and you're in a really dark space, you tend to focus on that one thing you can control. So I think it's so beautiful that you're allowing people to learn about gratitude and then practice it because that can change your whole life, especially when you're in a dark place.
So we allow people to come up to 3 times as a guest.
Okay.
So we're hopeful that by visit 3, you know whether this is a fit for you. You can't go into the circle. We don't allow people to go in, the circle unless they're a member. And that gets tricky sometimes because people are like, well, I want to know what the circle's like before I decide if I want to do it or not.
It is a sacred space.
Yeah. And
you have to be committed.
Every now and then, if we have, a circle that's, really strong and they've been around a while, if somebody comes and they ask, do you care if this person comes in, sits in a circle? Because maybe somebody comes in and they're just really not good that day and they could just really use some support, so I love how I'll probably, if you hear a pause, it's usually me like starting to cry. But I love how seeing the community come together and learn, ways to support somebody, and then being open to opportunities to see somebody where they are right now. But I don't know. It's just awesome. But
It sounds like a really
pretty
cool
much
model. So you're not open Monday through Friday,
not
certain
yet.
days, but you have events that you host basically on certain evenings and do dinner and stuff like that.
So
and
Tuesday and Thursday we're open
circles for circles,
and we have 2 circles. We kind of fluctuate between 2 and 3, but yeah, I mean, and our goal is to eventually be open and be like the cafe in Seattle, have our own standalone place, and be open 5 days a week, 7, 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
Just filled with workshops and recovery circles. The one in San Jose, they have currently like 250 members and do like 25 circles a week.
Wow.
It's just amazing to watch.
Yeah.
To see it. And I'm like,
is it the length of time that it's around that it just gradually kind of grows?
Yeah. And then it's all about funding too, how that goes.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, hopefully our next time will be Saturday for like 3 or 4 hours. So
yeah,
that's our next goal is to get to open, have 3 days a week, especially like not having so much time between Thursday and next Tuesday, for people who need that consistent space.
Especially the weekends could be some of the toughest times for people in recovery. So
now that we've kind of gotten to know a little bit about the cafe, let's talk about Theresa. You want to give us some background on you, where you were born, kind of just some things about you. Are you from Ohio originally?
Yes. I grew up in German Village. My mom was married to a man by the last name of Green, and she had 5 children. And while she was pregnant with her 5th child, her husband was electrocuted on the job.
Oh my gosh.
She had a nervous breakdown while she was pregnant with my brother. And then she married my father, who was a friend to her younger brother. So I always thought, I don't think my mom necessarily was in love with my father, but he was willing to take on 5 kids and her, and he wanted to do that for her. And so then his last name was Brown. So we were the Greens and the Browns. And they had me and 2 more boys. Okay. My mom was Catholic. I mean, we were all Catholic, I guess. And when I was about 8 years old, she started studying with Jehovah's Witnesses. By the time I was 10, we were completely converted to being Jehovah's Witnesses. My older brothers and sister didn't subscribe to it and wanted to continue being Catholic. This caused a major division in our family. I loved my brothers. I idolized my brothers, and I missed them. I wanted to be a part of their lives, but I couldn't be. My next older brother that my mom had this nervous breakdown with, he came out his life was a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just in trouble all the time. He used to beat me up. He used to tell me I'm going to come in at midnight if you tell on me and beat you up. He said mean things to me. He started getting involved in a gang, and it's called the Gate Street Gang, and doing drugs and in and out of detention homes and just really causing havoc in our household. However, I had a room to myself because I was the only girl in the middle. My older sister was, by the time all this was going on, she was out and had her own kids. So because I had a room to myself, it was kind of like my safe space where I would journal about all the things that was happening in my life. It wasn't just him, but it was dealing with being different at school. And I was always still very popular and everyone seemed liked me, but I was also had to stand up and be this person as a Jehovah's Witness, where I was supposed to witness to people and try to help them have Bible studies and do all this stuff and not celebrate holidays and be the one that
Because
sat
conversion is a really big deal in that religion, right?
Yeah.
Like Jehovah's Witness, you're supposed to go out and
door
promote people
door.
to come to you. Yeah.
And then the backlash from my mom's family of Catholics, they're just like, my grandma was, not having it. But my mom still took care of him. My parents are wonderful people. I have come to believe that my mom was looking for something that the Catholic Church wasn't giving. She wanted to learn what the Bible said. She wanted hope for her children to see their father again. She wanted answers about why this happened to her. And I don't feel like she was able to get that from the Catholic Church, that one-on-one, like real, true.
Yeah.
Right.
And she was looking for answers.
Mhm.
And so that's where we ended up. The division in the family, the dealing with him. But I always forgave him, because I knew somehow that it had something to do with what he went through in the womb. And why I thought that as a child, I have no idea. But I felt like I had some kind of wisdom. I really felt like
You
I
did.
was given something and understanding like myself and like just the journaling aspect. When I look back now, because I went years without journaling, without and just living life and all this stuff. And now I'm back to, well, I'll get back to that. So anyway, I had this space to process things, and and I always forgave him for what he was doing. I used to cry myself to sleep at night because I knew he was going to die young. He wouldn't, and it's like I was preparing myself for it. And then when I was about 17, I thought I was going to marry a guy that was in our religion. And he up and left and his stepfather moved him to California in my senior year. And I was devastated. And I went completely downhill, from there. I was like slated for it to be the valedictorian at school, even though like I knew that when it came down to it, my parents would not let me do it. But I liked having the spot, like
Right.
I was proud of having that spot.
Yeah.
But I ended up 16th in the class and like not really got my first F ever in my last semester. But I ended up getting kicked out of the house a month before I graduated from high school because I was working a job at Lazarus Warehouse, and it was like Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, people were messing with each other. And I was just sitting there like a deer in headlights going, what is going on here? Like, I was so naive to the things that was going on in the world. Like, I just didn't, I was just dumbfounded by it. But I was intrigued. Like, I was just 17, 18 years old. And I'm just like, this is so like,
not what
crazy.
I'm experienced in
Yes.
life. What is this? I need to experience this for myself. Yeah.
So my mom, I was at the World's Trade Fair for a weekend, and I had a journal she happened to find in a bag in the back of my closet. Like it
just happened to stumble across that bag, pushed back in the closet.
I know. And she said, you either need to quit that job or move out. And in that moment, I just said, oh, I think I need to move out. I don't think she was expecting me to do that.
Yeah.
But I had built up so much independence. I worked from 10 to 16, doing different jobs. I was always wanting to make my own money, doing, whatever. And so I kind of built up some independence in that space. And so when it came time to go, I went. The bad part about it, or the negative side of it, is that for me, I didn't really have any place to go. So my manager at Arthur Treacher's let me come live with her. And she preyed on me. And I ended up in a relationship with her because I didn't know what else to do, and I didn't have another place to go.
Right.
And I'm not gay, and I didn't necessarily want to be in that situation. But I was open, like, and naive.
She took advantage
and she
of you.
Manipulated me.
Yeah.
And
You're only
preyed on my
17 years old. You were a
feelings.
child. Yeah.
And so for 5 years, I was in this relationship, and it was, she held gun to my head once because I said, I was leaving, and she wouldn't let me go. So eventually my the man that I married was the man that saved me from that situation. And I believe it was more out of gratitude. I didn't really know it was gratitude at the time.
Yeah.
I really appreciated him. He's a good person. I felt like this was what I think I was supposed to do.
Yeah. Safe,
So,
protected.
yeah.
All the
And
things.
so I married him, had 2 daughters, and was with him for 23 years total, married 20 years. And I left the religion. I was actually disfellowshipped. But I went back when my kids were like 4 and 6 because I felt guilty. Like I felt like that's where I was supposed to be. I just didn't know I could do it, or I didn't feel like I was ready to do it.
Mm.
And then when my kids were 4 and 6, I said, I want them to have an upbringing. I really felt the community and the sense of love in that space. So I'm going to go back. It took the girls, it took time to get back in. It felt all warm and fuzzy to begin with, but as time went on, their dad was not a witness. So there was some division there, and I felt like my kids were like on the fence, and it's hard to be on the fence in the witness because nobody wanted to really spend time with them because their dad wasn't like they could be a bad influence, and then they couldn't have friends in school because that's a bad influence. And I just started feeling like, I just don't think this is where I'm supposed to be. I just don't think that, and I knew I was going to lose my family if I left it. But at probably mid 40s, I can't remember the exact age, I just made the decision that it wasn't where I'm supposed to be. And there's something else I'm supposed to do. And I get to leave, and it's their choice not to have a relationship with me. It's, they had the right to choose the path. Why can't they give me the right to choose the path that works for me?
Right.
That was the mentality. So I lost my family. I divorced my husband. I left the religion and decided to go down my own path. So,
and by family, you mean your mom and
my
brothers?
dad and my brothers, and my older brothers and sister, like
they were still Catholics. They were kind of estranged already. As adults, did you guys ever reconnect? My
sister and I we talk every now and then. 2 of my brothers passed. Well, when my brother was 30, the one that was in trouble, he was in a car accident. And I was pregnant with my daughter when he was killed. And I really worried about that because I knew what the result of him was, in being in the womb. But I tried to, like, I was like, I'm walking around maintaining my emotions, but like, I don't know. I don't know. But I really didn't think, I didn't want to be pregnant at the time. I wasn't ready. I was a workaholic, and I didn't think I would be a good mom. So I just wasn't prepared for it. So it threw me off. Anyway, so shortly after I found out I was pregnant, he was killed in a car accident. And so I was probably the only one in the family that really was able to like process that, because I'd already knew it was coming and I knew it would happen. I don't know why I did, but and I felt good because I always forgave him. I never held it against him. And I think a lot of my other family members had a really tough time with it because either they weren't talking like prior to it happening, and their relationship was not that great. So they had a lot of guilt. So they suffered through that. But in any case, so when I left, I said, I've got to figure out who I am. Like, what's my purpose in life? What am I meant to do? And so one of the things that I really realized is how much I valued a sense of community, be it a place of belonging. Even though I didn't believe what they were teaching, I did appreciate that. So I thought, I love to drink coffee and I would love to have a coffee shop. I love the coziness of it. So I was working with someone and we came up with Cup of Purpose. And I wanted to have inspirational messages in the bottom of the cup. And that's why the words "of purpose" as the steam is coming out. Those were the words coming out of the coffee. That's how that kind of was designed.
Yeah.
But it was going to be a place where there'd be like chalkboard walls and people could write what they feel, what they want on the wall and inspire other people. I wanted to create a sense of connection where, people could really connect and not just come in and have a coffee and work on their computer or whatever.
Right.
And back then, I don't even know that there was that, like that's 16 years ago. So, so I still wanted to pour the coffee into their cup while they sit and sit down and have a chat, like the old school way.
Right.
And I wanted to hear people's stories, and I wanted
diner style,
yes,
absolutely.
So, but life happens, and I'm still naive, and I'm out here like living my 20s and my 40s, and going to reunions and trying to meet people and trying to build friendships and relationships, and drinking. That was a really big part of my initial coming out. Because I didn't know who I was. And when I drank, it was easy to be whoever I needed to be in that moment. And I could feel like I fit in. And so that was a lot of my life. But, and then, searching for that chemistry that I didn't feel like I had with my husband, and, looking for like life, just wanting to live life and find all the feels, that come with it, and the ups and the downs. But life happened. I ended up marrying a narcissist. So like, I don't want to say that in a bad way, because narcissism is a result of things. No one chooses really to be a narcissist. And so but I didn't know what it was. Like I just was so confused. Like, what is happening here? I'm trying to be in this relationship.
All the blame on yourself too.
Well, I did. I'm trying to navigate this relationship. I don't understand it, but we can work through anything. We can do it. I tried. And then finally I just realized that I can't, I don't understand. And I always tried to understand. And I just said, okay, I'm done. I just had to be done.
Narcissists are easy to fall in love with, is my understanding, is they're really charming in the beginning.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And all the things that you want them to be, they become everything you need them to be. And it's not until after you're sort of in a relationship that it becomes evident.
Oh, I got out of that, and my oldest daughter became addicted to Percocets. And so she started.
How old was she?
24. And she has two daughters. And so, this is kind of where things get really, really tough, because so she was in a relationship, and it wasn't a very good relationship. That they separated, and then she ended up with someone else who was an alcoholic. I'll just say that it wasn't a
healthy relationship.
Yes, it wasn't a healthy choice.
Yeah.
But she also has seizures. Like, she has a seizure disorder she's had for years. So there's been some issues. When I look back, I think, I wish I had investigated that a little bit more, because there might be some brain issues, some brain damage from some certain thing, falls down the basement steps, and things like that. So she becomes addicted to Percocets, and it escalates to eventually being homeless and from fentanyl and different things. And during that, once I was going through the process of divorcing my second husband, all this time, I'm still trying to make connections with people. And I do that through asking people to meet me for coffee. And I would continue to post my picture of my logo of Cup of Purpose, and talk about my connection with them. Like, this is how we connected, because I want to promote connection, because I just feel like we are so disconnected. And, and like, I don't know. I just kept doing it. And I really didn't know why I was doing it. I just liked doing it.
Right. So, you're being called to it for whatever reason. Yeah.
So I kept doing it. And I said, I know this is going to be something someday. I just don't know I just don't know what, but I just continued to do the connections. And in that connection, I met a lady who told me about Gabor Mate, who was instrumental in the research on um, trauma and addiction. And I knew the minute she told me about that, like the heavens opened up and said, here's your purpose. I took it and ran, and I just couldn't get enough information. I took classes and courses and even kind of started working on a modality where I could actually help people um, resolve and heal from the traumas from the past and those limiting beliefs. Because the traumas come in all shapes and sizes. And I know people always think of it as being like maybe a major car accident, or maybe you were abused, or, something
the
terrible.
Big T's, right?
Yes.
The big T's are the little one.
Yeah. And so there are a lot of little ones that really shape who we are. And they are part of our subconscious, and our behaviors are based on our subconscious. We don't even really realize, that we're operating from the past.
Yeah. Our lizard brains, they call it the limbic lizard brains, where your subconscious rules and you don't even have any idea that you're reacting or responding from, the fact that your brother threatened to beat you one night. Now you have that trauma, that lowercase t, it never happened. The threat of it now triggers you down years later for XYZ, right? Like it's similar things like that, where it's not a big, huge thing. It doesn't even have to be an actual event. It's just a threat of something that caused you to be fearful, right? And then that fear rules the rest of your life in the back, and you have no idea that you're responding to things out of fear for those reasons,
Yeah.
And it can be little things, what your teacher said to you one day about the way you learn, the way it can be very innocuous, seemingly innocuous things. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm learning about all this, and I'm thinking, oh, I can go tell my daughter. One of the hardest things I ever had to do was transition the girls to their dad, and take them from her, basically. And I would have kept them myself if he weren't in the picture, because they were with me so much of the time, and they are my heart. And it was really hard because I had to trust that he would allow me to stay in their lives. And he's amazing, and he's not the person that I originally met, and so he has become my hero as far as I'm concerned. Wow. So I was doing all this thinking, I have something to tell my daughter. Like, I have tools that I can help her. Because at this point, I'm angry and frustrated. I start isolating because nobody knows what I'm going through. Like, there's no way this coffee shop's going to happen. Because I got narcissists, I got a drug thing going on. Right. I went through a leadership training program for emotional intelligence all the time while I'm trying to go through this divorce and help my daughter. And it was just like very difficult to do both at the same time. But one of the classes I took was called Families with Those in Addiction. And it's out of a group out of Australia called Center for Healing. And it really helped me shift my mindset from anger and frustration to compassion and understanding for my daughter. And it just changed my whole life. And so I said, you know what? This is her journey. It's not mine. All the anger and frustration comes from self-guilt. It's guilt that you feel. It's coming from something that you feel is not working for you. It's a you problem. It's not a her.
Right.
And so I started going to volunteer at Sanctuary Nights, which is a walk-in center down in Franklinton, because I knew she was coming in there off the street, and then she would come in and sleep on my lap. And I said, this is my time to be mom, even if it's just an hour, but I get to rub her arm and let her arm or whatever, and let her know I'm still here and I love her. And then, I occasionally pick her up and say, you want to run a DoorDash with me, just to spend a couple minutes with her. And then one day I just looked at her and I said, you're really happy out here, aren't you? And she looked at me like I had 5 heads, like, why are you saying that? And she said, Mom, I am. Like, I feel like this is where I belong. I'm in this community and they get me. And I suddenly was like, I get that. That's what I've been longing. I've been wanting that community and that place of belonging. And it just made me sad that she had to put herself in this situation to find that. But I got it, like I get it, and I get to let her work through it. And so, we have a good relationship. I just had to learn my boundaries and what works for me and what doesn't work for me. And we have our times
Right.
that don't quite work,
Right.
but I see her on a regular basis. I mean, not every day, but like I see her and she comes into the cafe sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's that transitioning and seeing people from a place of compassion and understanding that transforms everything. We don't have to live in a world of conflict if we can just come from a place of compassion and understanding and no judgment and letting people like find their own way.
I'm blown away over here, by the way. My head is real. It is so cool that I would have never in a million years thought that a mother would look at her daughter and say, "You're happy here in a homeless, drug addicted state," right? And that's a beautiful thing to pull away enough to be able to look at her and say that and give a validation and not feel like it's a reflection on you or a failure on your part, which I think is what a lot of parents would struggle with when kids are in an addicted state. What did I do? How did I cause this? Why can't I fix it? And this is embarrassing, like get it together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what a beautiful gift to be able to pull back enough to say and to see her in her current state as not a reflection on you or a negative stance, but saying, this is your journey. And although I worry about you in this journey and I worry about your physical safety and mental safety, but you seem to be thriving in this, you seem to be happy in this state and that you feel like these people get you and you belong in her current condition.
Oh, well, you didn't make it about you, right?
And it may not be, and it may not be forever, right? She may outgrow that and go through her process and come on the other side. And that's what we hope for everyone that's in that state, right? But the fact that you were able to see her in a real way in that moment is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I don't know that there's a lot of parents out there that could really do that. They just are so wanting to save them in all the ways, right? And it becomes a control drama really with the person instead of just, hey, I'm going to show up and put you in the car and go feed you and get you some new clothes and, and let you do your thing. And like, I'm going to do what's within my boundary to do to help you without enabling you, right? There's a fine line and all that in the state she's in, right? So I just think that's really beautiful.
And I also felt like I had to overcome, because if I wanted to give her $10, I felt guilty because people don't think I should give her money. But it's my choice. It's like I can't let other people tell me as a mom what my relationship should be with my daughter. I know that $10 isn't going to change whether she's using it or not. It's not like I'm feeding her, 20s all day long because that's how much they need.
Right.
But if it makes me feel good as a mom to, here's $10, get something to eat, or if I go get her something to eat, but it's not my responsibility if I give her $10 because I want her to eat. If she doesn't use it to eat, that's on her.
Right.
I know I'm giving it to her because as her mom, I want to make sure she's got what she needs. And if she doesn't use it for that, that's her. What's interesting is my daughter feels like she's out there helping people. And she always feels like she gets her needs met. Like it's frustrating because like, it's just things are working for her. And part of me doesn't want it to work for her. Right. But she's like, I help people when they're like going through withdrawal and they need a hit, like I'll give them some of my stuff. Or if I get $10, I'll give them 5 because I know like I'm going to walk down the street and I'm going to find a $10 bill. She always finds what she gives or more. And I'm like, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. And it's kind of, it's exactly the thing that I'm learning and trying to live in, is understanding that we're going to get everything that we need and our needs met. And she's living that every day, and I want that. I just don't want it like, in
the form right.
So at this point then, so you were going in and seeing her, and then when were you like, okay, now is the time back for me, for my purpose. I've been dreaming of this, posting about it. This is my time to make my move, to put this into action.
So what happened was I was taking these classes and these courses. I was also in a group. Well, actually, I was in an ex-Jehovah's Witness group, and they told me about this Center for Healing. So I went to it. I found all these great like classes and stuff and started learning them. And somebody introduced me to somebody in Indianapolis who is a therapist that uses Gabor Mate's method. It's called internal family systems. So it's a therapist that uses his modality. But so I'm like, oh, I'm going to call them. I'm going to set up some meeting, some sessions so that I can tell Tara what they're about. Because like all of this that I'm doing is because I need to give this to Tara so she has something.
Right.
So I start having these, and oh my goodness, what it did for me was amazing.
You tried to save her and you saved yourself.
Yes. And it took me back to my childhood. It took me back to reconnecting with who I was in that room by myself, when I was journaling, when I was talking to myself in the mirror. And I saw myself in the mirror and I just broke out crying. And I said, I missed you. Where have you been? And I knew that girl could do anything she wanted to do. She was only limited by her parents' restraints. I used to teach piano at 14. I did gymnastics. I did a talent show for all the kids in in our congregation. Like I was just one of those kids that everyone liked and everyone flocked to. And I would go visit old people and sit on the porch and just talk to them. And they would come back to me and say, you don't know how important that was to me that you would do that. I mean, so that was like, I wanted to be that person again, but I came out into the world and I learned, like, I just kept hitting roadblocks that I didn't know how to navigate. And what I found is that everything I had tried wasn't working because I was self-sabotaging. And I was self-sabotaging because I didn't believe I should, or I should do all of these things because I felt guilty that I wasn't a witness and doing what my parents wanted me to do. And so freedom. 5 years ago, I put in this capsule the word freedom because that's what I was working toward. And I knew that freedom would allow me to be able to do anything that I wanted to do. And it was just been a journey of getting there. So when I took this class and when I started like really, or not the class, the sessions, which it wasn't very many sessions, but I just realized all the things that, I just pulled up my bootstraps and kept going and doing, and didn't process, and how many of us really are going through life just getting through and doing and moving on to the next thing without really understanding where it comes from and why we can't do the things we want to do.
Right.
So she said, you know what? You should go to Indianapolis and check out a recovery cafe. It sounds just like your coffee shop that you've always wanted. I went over. I'm like, it didn't look like what I thought because it was in a church also. but it felt like what I wanted.
Yeah.
And then when I saw the real one, I said, that's the one. That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
That's what I envisioned.
That's what I've had in mind this whole time.
Yeah. And I would say the clientele is a little different than I originally, thought of, but it was just amazing, this whole process, and how 16 years ago I wanted a coffee shop, but I had to go through all the things that I went through, and I had to learn how to heal myself before I could actually do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now I feel like there isn't anything I can't do. It's just a matter of, do I have the strength and the energy, stamina? I'm like, I wish, like I say, at 61, I just feel like it's so late, but it's not,
Right.
I get to pass the torch to somebody else,
Right.
like,
Right.
that's all. That's the
You
only
wish you
thing.
found it sooner when
Yes.
when you were younger and had a lot more energy
At
before
the same-
menopause hits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it wouldn't be as impactful as it is today if you wouldn't have
Right.
gone through all of that first to get there. Like
Mhm.
everything is in perfect timing. So, and do you find that you run mostly with volunteer help, or how do you get people to come in and do these things to help you?
So I have one person. So we had our core team, which is our board. So one of our core team isn't with us anymore. So he didn't die. He's just not with us. I just, when you say that, sometimes I think he's no longer with us. So we have our president and our secretary, and we have a treasurer on record. We're looking to replace that position. She wasn't with us in the beginning, but they were committed to helping us get everything up and running. And then I have a cafe manager, so she's there in the space with me, supporting. And then we have volunteer positions, greeters, at the front desk. It's about radical hospitality. And we give lots of hugs. And, that's part of the training. You got to be able to hug
you gotta
people.
hug people. Therapeutic touch for sure. Yeah.
And so also in the space, we try to raise up our members to take on member leader roles. So who, like the kitchen, who wants to be a kitchen lead, and get them in those positions. We also like our workshops to come in for our members to actually turn around and teach like the next time. So like you come in, somebody comes in, teaches something, and then why don't you try it this time?
Yeah.
Just empowering people and like try to help them grow,
boost
give confidence. Yeah.
Are you running circles on Tuesdays and Thursdays? Is that you do those? Yeah.
No, I don't. I have a peer supporter.
Okay.
A peer support facilitator who does that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't do that.
Yeah.
We have someone that comes in and cooks right now, like our meals. We try to have healthy-ish meals.
Yeah.
And fresh meals.
So they're cooking for 20 to 30 people for a
usually
night, or
about 15.
Yeah.
15 a night.
Yeah.
And because that like covers like if a volunteer, we have guests and stuff like that. So.
And you just had a fundraising event. Is that how you guys usually get funds? Is through fundraising?
Yes, right now. So we had our some grant money that we were using. It'll be running out here soon. We've been applying for lots of grants and not having much luck. And I think a lot of it is because we're still new.
Yeah.
But we are doing fundraisers. We're doing another one. We're doing a rummage sale and cookout May 3rd.
Nice.
So that'll be all day, at the church. Some will be in the parking lot. Some will be in the space.
So is there a way people can just donate directly to the cause? So let's say they can't attend a fundraiser. Is there like ways people can do cash donations or check, anything like that?
So on the website, www.cupofpurpose.org.
Okay.
There's a donation button there. There's also a page for upcoming events. And a volunteer page. We are on the Point app. So you could go there and look for us.
No,
and
I'm not familiar with that. Explain that. Okay.
But you can just find different opportunities to volunteer for.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really, I love it. So that's those two things.
If people want to join a circle and are interested in the program, that's also on the website.
No, they would just come visit, just come show up, and just.
And usually that would be a Tuesday or Thursday evening.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll make sure in the show notes we link all the places for people to donate, volunteer, and then where you're located. So if someone wants to come or bring someone they love, they know when those circles are in the days. So
yeah, we're also, well, I was going to say we do a butterfly release event in September, and we've had 2 of them, and I really want to start promoting it sooner. We've been like waiting to the last minute. It seems like just trying to learn how to do all this stuff.
Right.
So yeah, we want to really promote that.
So tell us about that. Do you pay to get your butterfly?
Yeah.
And so it's like a fundraising type of event to come and release butterflies.
Yes.
Okay.
However, we are trying to find sponsors, and the sponsors will be, with their sponsorship, they'll get free butterflies to pass out. So we hope to have, some free if people need them for free. But
yeah.
But it's a really good opportunity, not just for people who are grieving the loss of a loved one, but for people who are grieving, or not even grieving, but like wanting to release it for transformation.
Totally.
It's all about the butterfly and transformation.
Right.
And that hope.
A symbol of this is my next chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ready to let that old chapter go.
Yeah.
Yeah. That old version of me. We all rebirth. We talk about this a lot. We rebirth so many times, and the current version of us would not be recognizable to the previous versions of us.
That's so crazy. I've been thinking about that a lot over the past. My life is not a book of different chapters. My life is completely different books. I mean, like, I can't hardly believe some of the spots I was in, and like how just chopping off, this is not me anymore, and this is my new life. And this is not me anymore. Now this is my new life.
Yeah.
Like, just, I mean, it's just.
And how much of that was really being run by your limbic brain before you had your sessions, right? Like how much self-sabotage and how many things were you like, how was I getting in my own way and all these other things? And you can look back and go, oh, I see that pattern now, but you had no idea until you do. And then you realize that, wow, that's been an ongoing pattern that I had no idea about. And, but I think we all can say that. I think we all have many different versions of ourselves, and not just chapters, but literal books. And they say that about marriage too, is that you have to be willing to rediscover and re-fall in love with a new version of your spouse every few years. Like literally, that's how we evolve and grow. And you're never going to be married to the same person that you said I do to on the day that you got married. Right?
That's what I keep saying. It's like, whoever my next person is, they've got to be all about transformation and about growth. Because, I mean, and I picked people that just wanted to be the same person always, like their whole life. Yeah. Sometimes I used to think, and those people still have their same friends they had. That is so, like, I wish I could still have the same friends I had. But then I said, no, I don't think that would be good. Yeah. Because, I mean, if there are people that grow with you, but 9 times out of 10, it's really hard to find people who are willing to change. I live right on the edge of discomfort all the time. Right. If I get comfortable, something's wrong.
Right. You're like, and we're figuring something else out about ourselves. Yeah.
Well, and thinking about those, close relationships and, how things change. Do you have anybody, either current, past, present, that you feel like has really shaped who you are today?
It's interesting because I say my mom. And even though, like, I don't have a relationship with her, she's 95 and still living in an apartment and, like, doing her thing. And I do admire her conviction of who she is, um, and if I hadn't had the side of my dad that I do, I probably wouldn't be like have gone my own direction. But like, I think I have the same conviction or the same need to try to be the best version of myself. I mean, my mom always took care of herself. She always like, I mean, there's a lot of good in her. She just wasn't a nurturer. She wasn't loving and like caring like in that way, but I always knew she loved me. But she was a good mom. Like there was a lot of good to her. But I would say it's interesting because we were growing up, my other daughter, I have 2 daughters, and my other daughter, she works at Patel, and she's wonderful, and I call her mom because she puts me in my place. Like during all those years that I was struggling and getting through the stuff, she did mother, like coming home drunk or like being drunk. I did drink and drive, and I shouldn't have, but and I feel bad because I made her worry about me, but she hasn't called me mother. She hasn't had to call me mother in quite a few years now. But every now and then, I think just for fun. But she grounds me, and she keeps me. She's just my safe space. To me, that's one of the biggest things. I failed to tell that part. I moved in with her after my last relationship. She bought a house when she was like 24, 25. And I moved in with her and I lived upstairs. She lived downstairs. But during COVID, we spent a whole winter just binge watching Survivor. So we would like go to work, or if I was at home, I'd be at home. And then we'd come home, get our jammies on, get on the couch and just watch Survivor. And it was the first time in my life where I didn't have to do anything. I didn't take care of somebody. I wanted a reset button, and that was where that reset to like learn all the things I started bringing in the things I wanted to learn and know. But that was my time where and I'm so grateful for that time that we had together. And my granddaughters, they're amazing young girls. They're 14 and 15 now, and they continue to show me the simplicity in life. My older granddaughter, she's still like not polluted from life. You know what I mean? Like
right.
Out of the mouths of babes, as they say.
Yeah.
And she just always, every time I'm trying to think of like how to navigate something, she'll just do that. I'm like, oh, I guess so.
Okay. Got right to it.
Yeah. But she's in plays. She loves to sing. She loves to sew. She just does everything. I mean, she reminds me of me as a teenager, just into everything and just an amazing young girl. My other one plays volleyball. She struggles because she was really like close to her mom and she was on her hip. Mm-hmm. And, she struggles sometimes, but she's got all these freckles on her face and she's just the cutest thing. But they keep me going. And, I wrote it wasn't a poem, but it was because of you. And it started I wanted Tara to know the impact that she's had on me, because for years growing up, I could never find those things that I could encourage her. I'm like, well, you're resourceful. But she was a mess. She was always like, I mean, it was just so hard to find those things to encourage her with. And now, so I did this thing called Because of You, I'm a Grandmother. Because of you, I laugh. Because of you, I have compassion again. Because of you, I've learned I've found myself. Because of you, I now belong. Because of you, and there's like 3 or 4 more. And there's a picture of her self-medicating.
Yeah.
And I framed it and I took it into the sanctuary nights and I said, I want you to keep this here for Tara to see when she comes in. And everybody there just starts crying. And they're just like, I wish all the other girls' moms would do stuff like you do. And so now I have it at the cafe.
Yeah.
And I just want it to be a reminder that we can really always find something good in people, and and everybody has can have an impact on us. You know, like it's just been I don't know. It's just an amazing journey.
Everyone has something to share, and like everyone has a gift in this world. And I
Yes.
think what you're doing is so powerful because you're reminding people that they are a gift just by being alive and being here. And every time you meet someone for a reason or a season, they're going to give you something that you can take and implement and be a better person because of it. And just thank you for the work that you're doing because every single person matters. So.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
We really like to celebrate people's authenticity, and I think women lose their authenticity. You have mirrored that same story today, and that you feel like you're one way, and through other outside sources lose that, and then you spend part of your adulthood trying to reconnect with that same girl and your authentic self. If you had to strip away all of the labels, you're not a mom, you take away your job, what you do for a living, who is Theresa Brown?
So my vision is I am a confident, energetic visionary dedicated to being the best version of myself so that I can inspire others to do the same so that we all can live the life of our dreams with peace and purpose. I really feel like if we find peace and purpose, like that's what we're here for.
Yep.
You know, it's to live out our purpose. And I would say, when I talk about spirituality, there's so much around me, Christianity and people talking about God and like the Bible and like faith-based things. I used to be triggered kind of by it because I don't want to be pinned into some belief system. But I do believe there's a higher power. I believe there's a God. I could never have orchestrated all of this. Like, and I do have learned that every time I just take a step, something's it's in alignment with who I am. Something else is taking me that next 2 or 3 steps. And I always can feel when I'm trying to orchestrate and use my brain, it's not going to work.
Yes.
So I just got to use it a little bit just to like know maybe what the next step is, but I allow something else to take over. And so it's really, it sometimes it gets a little hard to, I just feel like we were created with our purpose. Just like the tree has a purpose, just like everything has a purpose and it knows what to do if it's in the right environment. I feel like we're the same. And to be told how to believe or what to think or religion, in my opinion, is divisive. You know, we're telling people that you're wrong and I'm right. When if we can all just love each other and accept each other and support people in finding out what their purpose is and what their contribution to the world is.
Right.
I think that's just really all that we could do or would. I don't want to say should, but like, you know,
allowing people to live their purpose. I think you said it best. It's like that is what we're all here for, to figure out why we're here and to live that purpose without judgment or fear or any of that. So I think creating that safe space of what you're doing is the best gift you can give because you're aligned with your purpose. So.
And I think that, you know, really religions are all speaking to the same thing, right? Like when you really pan out and you really look at the belief system around all kinds of religions all the way around the world, they all speak to a higher being, a higher purpose, even spirituality, a consciousness, right? It is you're still really speaking about the same overall concept. And if you can zoom out and just appreciate that, if you're a spiritual person and somebody says, well, I'm praying for you, great. they're sending you energy. I said I was sending you all the positive energy. That's sending the energy towards you, right? It's the same. We're just calling it different things, right? We're sending you positive energy. We're rooting for you, right? We would never be offended or triggered if somebody said it in our words, right? So it's helped me to just sort of take a zoomed out approach and be like, these religions speak to people differently based on their experience. The family they grew up in, right? Exactly what you spoke to is very influential. Like you're being told by your parents what to believe at a certain age based on what they really need for themselves. And at some point as an adult, everyone has to decide, is this really speaking to me? And do I really believe that or not? And you end up finding something very personal about that and what speaks to you and really what speaks to you and not just what your parents is, what spoke to your parents or what you spoke to your grandparents and that's a very personal journey. And the same as it's a personal journey in recovery, it's a personal, journey in religion and spirituality, and let people choose and love them anyway. Yeah. Beautiful.
Well, we will make sure that people know where to find you and can support you. We obviously believe this is a beautiful mission. So thank you so much for coming on the pod today. And you can find this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, YouTube video, and audio.
Yep. And if this resonated with anybody that could possibly help Theresa or donate, or somebody that's struggling with recovery, please share this episode. We appreciate you coming, Theresa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you all.
Love you.